Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Sweeter After Difficulty podcast. My name is Randy Highsmith, and I'm your host today. And with me, as always, are my regular guests, Jordan Lopez and Chris Anderson. Fellas, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Randy.
Hey, Randy. Doing good.
Hey, great to see you guys. All right, so you know the deal, you know the drill, you know how this goes. Kind of an interesting thing we're going to do today, a little bit different than typically what we do. Because typically we pick a topic and we sort of talk about it and we get our, our feelings around how we actually feel and what we think a little bit before we come on the show. But today we had an idea for what we wanted to do, and then Jordan found this quote, and it's an idea that I'm not 100% sure that I'm on board with, but I don't really know exactly how I feel about it yet. So we're going to use this show as a live experiment to kind of flesh out our feelings on what they actually are related to this quote and to the concept being presented. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to the quote master general himself, Jordan Lopez, to get us started. What's our quote for today, Jordan?
All right, the quote's by a poet and a novelist named Rainer Maria Rilke. He's from Austria. The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things.
Yeah. Yeah. The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things. So, really interesting concept. And I think that, we owe it to ourselves to do what we always do and just dive right in, start breaking it down. So, I think that the initial part of this statement that gets me, right, is maybe it's just the wording, right? It's the words involved. So let's start with establishing what in this case does the word defeat mean? Because I think that that's like automatically that's what's hitting me in the face. This word, this idea of no matter what you do, it's going to be a defeat, right? So initially maybe maybe I'm just catching this sideways, which is completely understandable. What are you guys getting straight out of that when you hear it?
Want to go first, Chris?
Sure. Yeah. For me, the biggest thing that I take out of it is that it is a quote that implies a journey instead of isolating onto like a single event. And when I hear the purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things, the implication to me is that with each defeat comes self-improvement. Because in
Mhm.
order to get to the next level of a greater thing, you have to have eventually lost so much at the rung below it that you figured out how to overcome it, right? So for
Yeah.
me, it's like, okay, if I fail at step one over and over and I can't get past step one, it's incumbent upon me to keep failing until I get it right if my end goal is to make it to step two.
Yeah. It to me whenever I hear it, and the funny thing is in this on this quote when it was sent out, right? It was kind of like covering a Ronnie Coleman doing some workout thing, right? And it is a very much of a lifting weights perspective by when you think about it. Like when you lift weights until failure oftentimes, and that's the number that you now want to start working towards the next time and the next time, and you keep getting defeated by this weight and within this lift. And one day the weight is no longer that limit anymore. You now bump up to the next weight up above it, and you're kind of always kind of pushing forward and pushing that progression through just time, right? And feeling your body get stronger and seeing yourself get stronger, and it's just kind of that the next weight up above it is that next thing that defeats you until you
Hmm.
work your way past it.
Yeah, and I think I get the overcoming part, right? Like we've talked about that quite a bit. And I think I get the testing and challenging yourself part, like we've talked about that a lot too. Um, I think where I'm having trouble with it is the word purpose being in the same word as defeat, right? Or being in the same sentence as defeat. Um, because to me, I feel like the purpose is actually more about it. It may be related to the same thing, so help me flesh this out. But I think it has more to do with overcoming part, right? I think it has more to do with. I think that choosing to focus on the defeat might put you on the wrong path. You know, so like
Interesting.
for me, like a lot of times I like to try everything, right? Because I want to know, I don't want to miss out on something I might enjoy, and I also don't want to sink myself into something that I might not enjoy. So I like to dip my toe in everywhere, and sometimes uh, the defeat early is an indicator to me that like it teaches me that this isn't really something I care about. You know, like I'm not super invested in it.
Mhm.
You used a weightlifting example, which I think is completely appropriate, and I think you're right. I think this does apply directly to that. Um, but you know, with weightlifting, you have a goal, right? The goal is to overcome the limit that you can lift right now, and so not being able to do it, I don't know if I necessarily view that as a defeat, um, or if I view it more as a marker on the journey.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? So I kind of when I hear that word defeat, I think you lost, right?
Mhm.
Like you flat out lost. And then when you how you deal with that um is defines your character. But I don't have a problem with that. My real where I'm getting stuck is just that the purpose of life part, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm not sure that I agree that the purpose of life is to just experience defeat over and over again. I think the purpose of life might be to learn from those failures and become a bigger,
Yeah.
better person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think though it's the defeat part. Like, don't see defeat as final, right? See defeat as a temporary thing that you then have to work your way around,
Signal.
right? Yeah, like I don't know if you took that mentality of oh well defeat. If I had an early defeat, like you'd never make it past the first day of jiu-jitsu, right? You would get destroyed. You get destroyed the first day. You're like, well, this is not for me, and
And
you
so
and you just leave.
that's exactly where
Yeah,
my brain went, right? Because I
yeah,
went, okay, but
yeah,
that's something I wanted, right? Like that's something I jumped
yeah.
at. I went into jujitsu and I went, I want this. I want to. I know that I'm not going to be good at it initially. I
Hmm.
expect some level of failure. I'm looking beyond that for the greater betterment of my
Yeah,
life, health, or whatever. I think that I so maybe it's the connotations associated with the word defeat, right?
yeah.
Because to me, right, and then we talked about this with the ego episode, right? Does the word defeat have a bad rap, or does it mean what it means? And so I'm always curious, like, because I hear a word and it just means what it means to me. But what does that word defeat actually mean to you?
Hmm. Yeah, the word defeat itself. I think.
Yeah, not as a concept,
Yeah,
right? But when you use the word,
yeah,
in what context is it accurate and appropriate? Like
yeah. Is it
how should
final
that,
versus not final? Right.
or what
Right.
does it really mean?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I like
does
there's a
it does
quote that's like
defeat
there's
the
a quote
same
that's
as losing?
yeah.
You know?
There's a quote that's like a man is not defeated until he quits, kind of a thing. And I've always kind of liked that. Like I'm not going to be defeated until I determine when that time comes. Like
So,
I'm
but
not
what
going
is
to.
it? What are you not going to quit on though?
Yeah.
What does that word mean? What is the definition of defeat?
Yeah.
And are we? And that's the reason I'm asking is
Yeah.
because I feel like maybe it's not actually what we think it means, right? Like
Hmm.
maybe the idea, because I fully grasp and understand the concept that you're talking about, and I agree, right?
Hmm.
My issue here is I'm not sure that the way that this quote is worded in particular
Yeah.
represents an accuracy to the actual words that are being used. I understand the concept of what he's saying, right? If the message is don't quit, or the best version of you is at the end of all these failures, like I get the concept of that. Um, but
Yeah.
what does defeat itself actually mean? Because I think of defeat as actually being like I think of failure as being something you can overcome, but I think of defeat as being
Like final. Yeah.
defeated, right?
Yeah.
Like,
See, now it's interesting because I'm gonna have to put my English degree to use here
yeah.
because the way that the wording is specifically constructed, it's not just defeated, it's to be defeated. Defeated in this case is an adjective that's modifying be. It's an adjective that is modifying a state of being. And if you have a state of being, that implies an infinitive. It is endless. It's going on forever. I am, I will, to be. In this case, you have to be willing to allow your state of life to experience defeat in order to grow. So the notion should be that defeat is permanent as a part of our lives. And if we're unwilling to accept that defeat exists as a permanence, we won't ever be able to grow because we can't ever win every single battle, every single challenge, every single opportunity. So I instantly went back to poetry class and Shakespeare class and all this, and it's so easy to see the adjective as the core of the quote when really it's what's the state of being. And in this case, to be defeated, they're like separate but joined together. Like defeated modifies the permanent state of being.
So we talked a little bit in the episode "Let It Kill You" about about the idea of dying to your old self so that your new self can, can move forward.
Hmm.
Um, so it's kind of a tree view instead of a forest view, right? Because if we pull back and we look at the whole forest, at the end of your journey, you get one defeat, right? Life defeats you at some point. Along the road, and I guess if you think of it in terms of like battles, right? Like armies on a battlefield. An army might suffer a defeat and still survive. The country might still survive, right? But the soldier didn't. The soldier died, right? Or the soldiers
Right,
died.
right, right.
Um, so I always get I'm maybe I'm being super granular about it, but for a reason is because I think failure and learning how to deal with failure is crucial to growth.
Yes.
Um, but I'm not sure that looking for things that are bound to defeat you, while they might be a
Yeah.
useful practice, I'm not sure that they're the purpose of life.
One
Yeah.
third of this podcast
Well,
agrees.
Randy, speak for yourself.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think this is such an interesting conversation, is because I think probably we don't agree about this, right? Like
Yeah.
I think probably it flushes out a little bit of our different philosophies on life, and I think that's interesting, and that's really what I want to unpack. Like what is that? How do you apply that?
The funny thing is for me, like, and I know the more this time goes on, the more I know that I'm an outlier, and I get it. But I want to find the bottom of me, and I want to find those situations, those things that really ring me out, and just like go, oh, I can't go any further than this, or I can't do any more than this, and or when you find out that you have more of a gas tank than you realized, right? Like when you do the Shark Tank for your birthday, or when you do
Yes.
Goggins
Yes.
challenge, or that rolling Goggins challenge that Corey and I did a couple years ago. Like you find out and you realize, like, oh, I can keep going, I can keep doing this, and I don't think enough people have those experiences. I don't think enough people have the experience of trying to find the bottom and trying to find what they can and can achieve, and because I think they would surprise themselves oftentimes, like with how far you can go and how deep you can go, and just standing back up and going, all right, do it again. Like I don't know.
It's interesting, like having, been your guys' friends for as long as we've been and gone through the things that we've gone through. I liken it a lot to just a matter of taste
Mhm.
in the sense that like we each have different tastes for what we would eat. And I think Jordan, what you're describing is like the notion of seeking defeat as a method for progressing through life is your main course. And I
Yeah.
think for me, that's like that's kind of like an appetizer for me. Like I'd love to like sample it from now and again just to know what it tastes like and how it
Yeah.
feels and how my body reacts. But if that's all I was eating, I think I would get burned out,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and the funny thing is like in a perfect like life example for me. So we have two guys at our school, two black belts, both second degrees, are competing for Master Worlds coming up at the end of this month or next month, and they're both competition black belts, and they're both really, really, really good. And so whenever we're together now, it's the guy and I just go to the death pretty much, and on, and it's terrible. And I know what's going to happen every time he shows up. Like, all right, well, I need to get my ass kicked now. So on Saturday there was 5 black belts, and I was the second lightest one, and we did 2 people in, 3 people out, and just rotated people through for 25 minutes straight.
Jeez.
And I was sitting there laughing, and one of my buddies walks over, who's a purple belt, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to see a dead body?" I'm like, "Look, watch in this corner for the next 25 minutes." I'm like, "I get thrown around this room," and it was just, I knew my role very quickly, and with all the guys who I was partnered with, and no part of me is like, "Oh well, this defeats. I don't want this defeat in my life." It's like, no, no, no. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to get better. But I'm going to take my medicine right now, and like, I look forward to those situations. Like, they're not fun.
Yeah.
One of my friends is like afterward, he's like, "Do you enjoy that kind of rolling?" I'm like, "No, not at all." Like, I don't, I
So
don't like it in the moment, but after the
yeah,
fact,
yeah, yeah.
I can stand up and be like, "All right, that was great." And then, and the more you're changing, and one of those guys who's competing is like, "You're a hell of a roll, Lopez. I gotta tell you that." I'm just like, "Thanks." Like, I'll
Yeah.
take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
But if you don't put yourself in that situation to get just
You'll never
absolutely
find
wrecked
it.
in 5 minutes, you'll never get it.
So let's expand and maybe challenge the idea a little bit, because I fully, again, I'm on board with you 100%, and I think we're losing it in the terminology.
Mhm.
I think it's confusing. So what I heard you say, and remind me if I'm not right, is the purpose of life for you is actually to find where your bottom is.
Yeah, and the defeats along the way, right?
Are they defeats or are they losses? And are they the same thing?
I don't know. I think it's the same thing. In my
Is
mind,
a
I think the
is
defeat and the loss are the same thing.
is a loss always a defeat? I just am curious if
Yeah,
that's
well, a defeat's always a loss, right? But maybe not a loss is always a defeat.
yeah. So
I think it could be more than that though. Like
Yeah,
it can be both at once. Like you can take loss from the perspective of like I had something and then I lost it and it's gone forever. Whereas like
yeah,
a defeat could be I'm going to show up and roll with this person and I'm going to lose this match. And then I'm going to
yeah.
show up the next day and then I'm going to win.
Hmm.
well, I mean, and I guess you can get super technical on it and say, I won the match, but I injured my knee, so I technically am losing. So,
Yeah.
like there's always
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's super like
Out,
yeah.
yeah. Outcome based jujitsu. We're all winners here.
we all
The
won.
the outcome was I checked into class. Give me
Yeah.
credit.
Um. So, but taking it back to that idea, right?
Mhm.
You aren't necessarily looking for the defeat. You're looking for something that will be hard enough that you have the potential to be defeated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Yes.
when you go through it, you'll either be defeated or you won't.
Hmm.
But I think that I can get behind the idea of saying the purpose in life is to seek out those things that might challenge you to the point where you have to rise above or learn from them
Yeah.
through loss. Um,
And it's that realization, yeah. Like the realization, like this can defeat me right now, and then you're like, slide the mouthpiece in and move forward, right? And it's just,
but that's the extreme sports example too,
yeah,
right? It's like it's why people dive out of planes or ride their dirt bike off a cliff or like whatever.
Mhm.
It has the potential to kill you or to defeat you. But
Right.
then you also know that if it all goes right, you won't
Yeah.
be defeated, right? There's a
Yeah.
so what how so then I guess I know this is like moving fast because normally we like process slowly. But what part do you think hope plays in?
Well, I think but hang on. So my thought though too, it's like, well, what's your relationship to fear,
That's
right?
that's one of the things I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, because I think a lot of it's
Let's
fear.
go that way then. Let's
Yeah,
go that
Yeah.
way.
yeah,
We'll
like,
read the room here.
yeah,
But
and that's a big part of it. Like a big part
But
of
I
like
think
finding
hope is
things
on
that
the back
defeat
end
you.
of it, so it'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Like finding things that defeat you, like once you find one, like do you engage with it, or do you like how do you deal with the fear that comes from that realization?
yeah. I think it's interesting too, right? Because and then don't lose what you're going to say, Chris. But I think about it all the time too. Like I have a paralyzing fear of heights, right? But I'm also very claustrophobic. I have, I watch these videos of people crawling through caves, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Like that's the
Yeah.
dumb, right? Um, so I go to jujitsu and I learn how to not be claustrophobic.
Mm,
I'm still staying away from the edge of cliffs. You know
right.
what I mean? Like, so that's the, I don't know
Yeah. I
if
mean,
what,
look, they have different weights, right? Like they have different weights for your life, and that's normal and to be expected, right? Like
yeah,
I
just
don't
as
think that
how the fuel plugs in, like that's,
right. I mean, like for me, the second thing that I got from this quote right away was like, this is just a quote about fear management. Like that was like if I were to boil it down, it's a quote about fear management because what is the worst part about defeat? It's the things that you're afraid of that will happen when you lose. And then when you go through whatever that defeat is and you realize that all of the stuff that you were afraid of wasn't as bad, you're like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe I get better at this. Maybe I improve this. And like, I know we obviously lean into the sports examples and the philosophical examples, but like, it could be as simple as like learning how to play an instrument or writing the book that
Yeah.
you wanted to write or learning how to paint or starting the business. Like, if the goal in life is to be defeated by greater and greater things, you're being defeated right now by doing nothing. You are letting
Yeah.
fear hold you back. Okay, great. So let's address that. Why don't we try the thing? All right, I'm going to overcome my fear. I am super claustrophobic, so I'm going to go to jujitsu and overcome it. Right? Like, that's, I think, living that quote because it's a recognition of how fear can grasp on to your ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
in that instance, then would you say that the defeat would be not overcoming that fear, or do you think,
Bingo. Totally. Right? Like I've talked about it with you both in terms of like like I fear confrontation and it's like very habitual and it just happens. And now I know it. I'm like I'm trying. I haven't done a good job with it, but I'm trying to find things where it's like, hey man, it's okay to disagree about something. Like, and I know logically that it's there, but emotionally I'm not quite with it yet, right? Like confrontation still bugs me. But I'm like, okay, at least I've gotten to the point where I can see that like this is something that's holding me back.
Yeah. I for me it's like I was kind of thinking about it as you're talking about like my fear is regret a lot of times. Like the regret of not achieving something. Like like a big thing right now is I'm starting to run again just because I don't know. I hate it and I hate it and so I'm like, I gotta
But
do it
like
again.
you would regret not being able to do it well.
Yeah, or just or regret like some hill beating me. Like where I run at when I drop my kids off for jujitsu, there's a couple really good, decent hills, right? And as you're running down it on the way out, you're like, this hill's gonna suck in 3.5 miles from now. And so you on the way back, you're like,
Here
part
we
of you is
go.
like, we can just walk it. Nobody will know. Like we can just walk this hill and get to the top and feel good, and then we'll just run the rest of the way. It's just like, and that would eat me alive for until the next time I ran that hill. And it's just that regret of letting that little inner voice in my head, that little bitch voice in my head, like have too much say and have the ability to dictate that side of me. And it's just that's what that for me is a big deal. Like that the regret of not doing something.
listening to you tell that story is truly a beautiful reminder to me. But like honestly, I know you're like loaded up, ready for this. But it's a beautiful reminder to me of the importance of gaining perspective from other people. Because I
100%.
can
Mhm.
not relate to that feeling at all. I'm like, I don't care who's looking. I am walking up this hill because I am miserable and like,
Right.
I hate
Right.
this and it's stupid, right? And maybe that is a defeat of my mind. Maybe it's a
I mean,
weakness of mine.
I disagree. I think one of the things that we maybe haven't dug into yet is that part of defeat is knowing what battles you're fighting. If that's not a battle that you're fighting, then you're not being defeated by it. But that's a battle that Jordan seeks and he looks for.
Yeah. because I wouldn't, and I think that Jordan, you and I step foot out the door on a run with completely separate intentions in mind,
But
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
precisely.
Like and also probably mindset. Like you probably have a much better mindset. My negative attitude about it immediately kicks in. Like, why am I? This is stupid. Why am I doing this? You know, and I even
Yeah.
know the end goal. Um, and so for me, the challenge in that is always okay, I know that not only is this going to suck and I'm going to have a bad attitude about it, and I'm probably not going to completely experience everything I could out of it because of my own attitude. And I know that's a, you know what I mean? Like the challenge is a lot bigger than just run up the hill in 3 miles when you get back. For me, you know, it's
Interesting.
I don't want to run down this hill right now, let alone back up it
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like
I,
as you're talking, it reminds me like kind of what I was getting at a little bit earlier in the sense of like it's we have different tastes and we have different meals and right like that's what Jordan's main course is. Your main course is going to be a lot different. My main course is going to be a lot different. But I think like what I'm kind of zeroing in now and realizing as I'm hearing you guys speak is like I kind of like all of it. Like I want to be a sampler, I think. Right? I want to try a little bit of it. Like Jordan and I, like, he was like, one day woke up before he moved out to Georgia and he was like, it's 120 degrees outside. We should do a really hard workout. And I said, yes, we should. Not because I'm anywhere near what Jordan's psychotic level of self growth is, but because I love the notion of like, I want to try that. Like, I
Yeah.
just want to see what it's like. 10 minutes in, I wanted to vomit, and I look over and Jordan's still going, and I'm like, well, I can't vomit in front of Jordan. So now I got to push. You and I
notice
talk like you and I talking about doing this. I was like, "Ah, I don't know, man. I don't really feel comfortable about it. And then I woke up one morning, I'm like, yeah, but I should try it. Like it'd be
Yeah.
fun to try, you know?
What's
yeah,
the
and
worst that could happen, right? You're not gonna
Right,
die.
right.
well, no, that thing you said, right, which is exactly the reason why I thought that you two would be the best balance to my natural way of thinking. Is I know you both well enough to know that within the subject, right? We're all in the same subject, so it's not like it's any of it's foreign to any of us. But we all fall into different lanes within that mentality. And I think that Jordan and I are probably on the extremes of it as far as mindset go, and you're
Yep.
probably in the middle. I
Yep.
think physically we all probably are right, like sort of in the same vein. Like obviously
Yeah.
Jordan's still on the extreme side of it from me.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, you know, jujitsu is my main method of exercise and workout. It's, you know, Jordan does all kinds of other things too. But then watching, like, you know, coming into class the other night, I was super late from work, so I still wanted to stop in and see what was going on. So I stopped in and watched Chris working with another buddy of ours, Ryan, super good, cool dude, blue belt Marine, older guy. I think he's like 56, super fun. And watching everything that you do on the mat, Chris, it's so intense, right? Like you still have that, you're in that purple belt phase where you're starting to wean the spazziness and that stuff
Turn the
out.
dial down a little bit.
Turn the
Yeah.
dial down a little bit, but it's still like it's still just there a little bit, you know. And sometimes I see it, I'm like, God, thank God I'm not rolling tonight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because in those things, right? To me, the puzzle is the most fun. Physically dominating someone isn't like a thrill for me, but finding myself in a place where I'm physically dominating someone, having used very little effort and having tremendous,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
like that's so exciting to me.
Yeah.
So when we go in there, you know, I'm thinking, what's the likelihood that I'm going to be able to outthink my way through
Mhm.
Yes.
250-pound, you know, 20-year-old guy? That's a huge, you know, right? It's a huge challenge.
Three
Um,
people just popped up into my head from class.
Yeah.
and you're right. It's all three of them. That's exactly
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
right. But Jordan is looking for that. He immediately is like, okay, take my hand. We're going into the deepest water we can. Like, let's go. You know, like, because if I don't do that, I've already had those days where I've had light rolls. I've already had those days where
Yeah.
I've had easy work. Like right now, all I care about is while I'm still strong enough and young enough and fit enough to do it, I want to push this as far as it'll go.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that naturally. That to me, like, pure honesty. And I've told you guys this before.
Yeah.
What led me into jujitsu was not the fact that I was super overweight or that I was unhealthy or that I was in physically very bad condition. What led me to it was seeing someone who wasn't terribly older than me and
Yeah.
definitely not old enough to be considered old, that couldn't get out of a chair on their own because they just let the things that I had going on go, right? And so the motivation for me is always, don't end up in that chair. But I could easily end up in that chair, just as easily end up in that chair from overdoing it as I
Uh-huh.
did from not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's not true.
That's so interesting.
Maybe it's not exactly, but my motivation for it is different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the better you get at jujitsu, though, the less you're interested in using strength. Like for me, like I was talking today about somebody, I was like, my whole goal is to trick people. There are very few. There's 3 people at our school who I go full speed, full strength with, and they're all drastically better than me, and I have to because they're strong. They're just as strong as I am, and they use strength because they're comp
That
black belt.
that describes what it's like to roll with you.
Yeah. But it's true though. Like I would much rather surprise somebody and make you do things subconsciously versus forcing you into something. Like
Yeah.
the move that we covered today was like very much of like oh, pull the person towards you, step around their head, do an arm bar. And it's like, but my blue belt's who's 120 pounds can't do
Isn't
that.
going to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, how can I get them into the right situation? And it's like, oh, I can feed this choke and make the choke make them turn into me. And then it's like, it's much more of a trickery mindset thinking my way through the round versus like overpowering people. And it's great. Strength is great. And strength is a skill, right? But I don't ever turn it on because it's not interesting to me. It's not interesting to overpower somebody.
Yeah.
Unless someone like me spazzes into you and like
Yeah.
you're like, stop it.
Unless you punch me in the face and like, gosh, Chris.
Wouldn't it be the first time?
I've been on this campaign lately with myself to not be using strength at all during my rolls.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd talk about this.
And last Saturday, I ended up rolling with one of our brown belts, Linda, who's like a small woman, right? She's just small and thin, and
Feisty.
just feisty. And it's so funny because on Instagram we were sharing these reels of like people fighting with squirrels who had jumped on them and were, like
Yeah.
running all around and attacking them. And it was Linda posted it and she tagged us because it was exactly like
Yes.
that. It was like, even if I wanted to use strength, first I got to pin down the squirrel, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the hard part, is getting a hold of it. But the interesting thing about it is when you take that element out, it sort of levels the playing field, right? It goes, what amount of technique do you actually have versus have you succeeded this far? Because, to be 100% honest, when we talk about imposter syndrome, I'm a strong guy, and I can force things that don't belong, and I have a role that I like to do. I can do it effortlessly, or I can do it using strength and manhandling you and muscling you over, like it will work both ways. And so sometimes when I feel like the imposter syndrome a little bit, it's like, well, yeah, it's just that I'm stronger than the majority of you that I'm rolling with, But when you take that out and you just start using technique, then you go, oh, okay, it's not that. And so
Yeah.
I think you owe it to yourself. Every single person hearing this message, I think you owe it to yourself. Try to do the things that you're trying to get better at without forcing it, right? It doesn't have to be anything.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a huge proponent of that, of rolling without strength. And the funny thing is though, is that you can do it to everybody and people will start to take advantage of you if you don't start using strength. And then there are interesting conversations afterward, like, because the sweeps that you do hit are the ones that you're like, I controlled you the entire time. But
yeah.
I love it. I have several rounds that I'll do almost every class where it's like the people who I can roll with and be like, I'm not going to use
Yeah.
strength, and because you're
Being
small.
being on the receiving end of that is a really unique experience. I think now that I've got like the perspective at purple belt looking back, there's times where it's like they're not like the sensation that you're not using strength is like, oh, my opponent's not trying.
Yeah.
And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm like, oh well, they're not trying. They're gonna let me work. I'm gonna have to like race to the thing that I know to get there. And it's like that's where they wanted me to go, and now I'm on my back. And there is no more like beautiful description of jujitsu than somebody who had no effort, no strength, and still was in control the entire time. They started on
Yeah.
bottom, and then they swept you after you were going full bore, and they're on top, and their mount is way better than your mount escapes, and you're just
Yeah.
gonna suffer, right? Like it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah. Well,
We've been
it's also the imperative of a higher belt be to be directive with their rolling. Like I rolled with one of our competition blue belts today, and I was talking to him. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to kill you the entire time. I said, you might think I'm trying to kill you the whole time, but I'm going to give you looks and options and opportunities, and I want to see what you do with it. Like, and it might not feel like that in the moment, but realize like it does me no good to just run through you 15 times. Like I want to transfer knowledge and transfer information, and I want to see what you're going to do with it. And then we can talk about it afterward, but like realize that the upper belts in this room don't just want to kill you. Like
Right.
so
see what it is.
so I just had an interesting thought, and maybe that's why I'm so grateful for these conversations. But when you turn off the strength, right? When you stop trying to muscle everything, do you think that for you, that's also seeking out that opportunity for defeat?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. If I get tapped, I don't care. Like it's part of the game for me now. Like
Okay,
if
but
I
then let me ask, how long did it take you to reach a comfort level with that statement and to truly believe in it?
midway through my brown belt, like once I kind of
Not me.
realized that black belt was coming.
Bingo.
But dude, it is a
Bingo.
luxury of a black belt. Trust me. Like it is a
Yeah.
luxury of a black belt to
No,
not care.
because that's exactly where I'm
Yeah.
feeling right now. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
focused so hard on that, and I'm right where you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
right there.
'Cause we had a conversation with Bill, our mutual friend, who's a third degree or fourth degree black belt, and he's like, "Black belt's the best belt because you don't care anymore." He's like, "If you get tapped every round for the next 6 months, who cares? You're a black belt." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is a definite like privilege of the belt to be, because everybody just thinks, oh, if they catch you, you're like, oh, they let me catch them. It's like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's a very interesting spot to be in because I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't care if I get tapped by anybody. Like, if I'm putting myself in a bad situation and you catch me, good. You should be. Like,
I
it's
think
not
that
personal.
I think that not getting to that place, and tell me what you guys think about this, but I think about not getting to that place is probably what causes complacency.
Yeah.
Because we get to this point, right, where it's like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can do this thing, and I could always do it. If I don't want to lose today, I'll just do it. Right? Like where your ego starts to sneak in and go,
Yeah.
you don't want to lose today. Like, come on, you're having a bad day. Maybe chalk up a couple of wins. Go wrist lock a blue belt, or it's like whatever, right? Uh, but but then, so I was talking to this young blue belt actually the other day. This kid that trains at our school named Isaac, and his dad's a brown belt, and
Love Isaac.
Isaac is like, he's a very talented jujitsu student. Right? He's got
The
great.
second he turns 18, he's going to be a
I
purple
mean,
belt.
dude, it's stupid. He's gonna move up really fast. But when I saw him, he sat down and asked me how I was doing, and I said, "How you been?" And he said, "I've been taking a little bit of a break." And I said, "Okay, why?" And he goes, I just felt like the passion isn't there. And it's kind of interesting talking to, a kid who's about to turn 17, talking about taking a break from something because the passion, it's like it was a disarmingly mature conversation to be having
Yeah.
with a 17-year-old. But he said, I talked to my dad and I told him what was going on. He said, yeah, take a week off, but then get back in. He's like, at least get to the point where you're beyond the idea that you're just going to quit. Like once you're past blue belt, you're probably not going to quit, right? Like you've already put this much time in. You can start to see things working. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. But blue belt's a really hard belt, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but I thought it was interesting because he was thinking about it more in terms of the forest than the tree. You know, like he was
A
thinking,
unique perspective for a
right.
16-year-old kid.
I mean, if this guy gets his black belt at 20, he will have had his black belt 20 years before I even started training in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just crazy different paths. Um, but he's also, I think, setting himself up the right way. You know, like
Mhm.
you already know that it's proper for you to take a break right now, and so you're doing it, and you know why, and you're
Mhm.
hoping to get something, and so you know, I hope that works out for him. I hope he doesn't quit. I told him, I said, don't quit. You're too,
Yeah.
you
I had
know.
a good
What's
role.
hmm. No, no, go, Chris, go.
We were working takedowns and takedown entries, and he has this really slick like collar drag to outside single,
Nice.
and he was practicing that entry on me, and it was fast, and I outweigh him by maybe 80 pounds, 70 pounds, and I would sprawl, and I was sprawling on air, and I looked at him at like when it was my turn to go, and I'm like, can you show me how you did that? Like, walk me
Yeah.
through it. Like, you're a 16-year-old kid as a blue belt. I am a 40-year-old man who outweighs you by a lot, but I want to learn how you do that. And it's like, at this age, it's easy to see what other people can bring to a training environment, regardless of age, gender, belt level, experience, whatever. And I think that's what's so pure about jujitsu is that, like, anybody can help anybody if you're willing to set your ego aside. And that's why I'm like, oh, like you telling me this about Isaac, I hope he listens to it. But I'm like, yeah, man, you're a killer. Like the joy may not be in each individual role, but like look around the room and the people who love rolling with you, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think a big thing for me though, like, and I have a different perspective when it comes to training and stuff like that. For me, it's all about momentum, and I feel like the days that I miss training, I'm losing momentum. And I remember that. I remember kind of having that thought when I had my shoulder surgery 2 years ago, talking to a physical therapist who trains at our school, and she's like, "Why don't you just take time off?" I'm like, I can't lose momentum. Like I said, it's it's really hard to get and it's really easy to lose, but it's also easy to maintain. And I'm like, and so I rode my Echo bike every day from the day I stopped training to the day I could start training for I think it was like 12 weeks straight of riding my Echo bike. And I have it all documented. It's just like 450
Yeah,
calories a day every day.
I
And it's like,
remember.
and when I came back, my timing was screwed up, but my cardio was great. And it's just like this. I just, I can't do it. I can't. There's no losing passion for me. It's just dedication, and
Yeah,
I'm just going to show it.
yeah.
If I want to be there or not, it's what I do. It's who I am. Like, and the crazy thing is when you find somebody who shares that with you, and you're like, I want to see you get better, and they're like, okay, I'll be here every day, and then they show up every day, and they never miss a class, and they don't ever want to do it, and you're like, you just got your blue belt, and they're like, and they're the complete opposite of me. They're small, they're lightweight, and you're like, and it's such a crazy thing to be like, oh, don't you want like, what about passion? What about this? They're like, I just want to be here all the time. I just want to get better all the time, and you get that momentum perspective, and people just either they have it or they don't have it. But
Yep.
So I'm thinking about you, Jordan, specifically, you know, listening to you talk, and I'm always constantly, I think you're such an interesting person, you know, and I'm always constantly evaluating, you know, that drive because it is inspiring, you know, and it is fun to watch, and you know, and it's also like, you know, oh, you guys want to start some trouble? I'll just call my buddy Jordan. Um, do you think though that your ability, because you're not, and we talked a little bit about, you know, your routines as a person. You're also not a super emotional person, right? So,
specific situation, I'm situationally emotional, right?
but you
Very
don't.
few people. Yeah,
But in general, like in
yeah,
general, you don't see these wild swings of emotion,
no,
right? You
no, yeah,
don't go from being happy to just being upset. Like, and if you're upset, you might the people might not even know, right? Like you're not going to broadcast like I'm angry about something. Like you might have a conversation where you go, I am angry about this thing, you know, and like you're
yeah,
still talking like this. You
yeah.
know? So it's like
Well, so it's funny you say that though. Chris and I
okay.
were talking about this a little bit. So I've been on TRT since October, right? And so when they so during the process, they're always measuring, they're always checking stuff like that. Chris is laughing because he knows the story. But I got to a point where my testosterone was naturally really high, but my estrogen was also naturally really high. And bro, I was a fucking mess all the time. Just like the fluttery behind your eyes, and you're like almost in tears all the time. Like, what is going on? This is not. And I was like, Melissa's like,
I
what's
just
wrong with you?
I just picture like Jordan, at that time standing at the bottom of a 400-meter hill,
And just in
like
tears.
just like this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I can't wait.
but it was dude, it was insane. I remember talking to my doctor. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, your numbers you're 69 and 70 is like really high. And like, we got to adjust that. And so they adjusted
Okay.
it back down. And then within a week, I was fine. But it was like this. I'm not an emotional person. I'm very balanced, and it was just like this huge emotional swings. It's like this is terrible.
That is super funny, actually. Well, okay, so but back to my original
Sorry.
question.
Yeah.
Do you think that your ability to kind of steel your brain
Mhm.
against something and just move forward has anything to do with the fact that you're just not you don't
Yeah.
make a lot of super emotionally based decisions?
Yeah. I'm naturally really pragmatic too. Like it's just kind of like the obvious decisions usually the decision I make, and I don't really kind of but yeah, not really emotional, not maybe kind of led by
Maybe
emotion.
that's it. Maybe it's the pragmatism that just
Yeah.
says, like I feel like I don't want to do something, but what does that have to do with it?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't that's not going to help me achieve my goals. That's not going to make me overcome anything. I'm going to feel worse. It's like me lying, like I'm not good at it. And even
Mhm.
if I get away with it, I'm going to feel like such shit that I'm going to end up,
Yeah.
admitting it, or, like
Yeah.
it doesn't, I just avoid it because it's not,
Yeah.
it's just
I
not a
think
benefit.
for me it's like so I wear my emotion on my sleeve, I would say, but I also keep people at arm's length. And so like you won't know unless I let you in. But if you do know me, you can tell almost immediately how I'm feeling. Like
Yeah.
it's
Once
kind
you're
of it's like a
inside,
weird kind of balance.
you know
Yeah.
exactly where you are once you
Yeah.
get there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So bringing it back around to the original subject, the idea of finding things that have the potential to defeat you, so that you can know one way or another, right? And then know how to make adjustments. I'm still not sure if that's the purpose of life, but I understand why that is a crucial part of your
Yeah.
development as a person.
Well, it's interesting too, though. Like, if you think about it too, it's also a very raw and a very intimate part of it that you have to be looking for things in your life that could hypothetically defeat you. Like, how often do people actually go out and look for things that can defeat them, right? Because it's very easy and very comfortable to not do that, to not push yourself, and to live a life that's very consistent and very measured and very understood. And you're like, all right, well, these things, nothing here will ever defeat me, and so it's comfort in that because there's no threat. But I think you might be leaving the
Yeah.
cards on the table.
Right, which ties it back into the fear.
Yeah.
And so probably the reason why most people don't achieve what they want is just they're
Mhm.
just too afraid to fail at it,
Yeah.
whether that's real or imagined.
Yeah. Fear of failure. Yeah.
We're gonna have to do the fear itself quote episode at one point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that would be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Um man, it's such a interesting and like deep subject, the idea of facing not I think because I think that my whole life you hear about, don't be afraid to fail or fail forward, or you
Yeah.
hear the word failure all the time. I don't know why the word defeat seems like so much more harsh to me than the word failure.
Interesting.
Yeah. I can see it because it was
You
only
know,
associated with
I'm not
wars
as
and
Like
battles.
would the quote feel different to you if it said something like the purpose of life is to fail so often that your failures are on greater and greater things?
Yeah.
I think it would. I think it would because I don't like I mean, obviously, you know, the picture that we saw, the meme, it was Ronnie Coleman or whatever. So maybe that also skewed my thoughts a little bit because I was like, we're talking about a guy.
24-inch biceps changed the
Yeah,
picture a little bit.
like
Yeah.
he's this massive dude. Then he ended up having multiple back surgeries, and
Yeah.
then he couldn't
Yeah.
walk. You know,
He's
so like,
developed-
well,
yep.
he found the thing that defeated him, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, which is that's
Yeah.
harsh.
Yeah.
That's harsh. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I'm not nearly as afraid of failure as I am of defeat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all just metrics, right? It's all what you measure against and what you. I don't know. As I'm sitting here in my basement right now, like I look over to my workout area and I have a picture of Alexander Karelin like picking up a 290-pound dude. It's just like, yeah, I can do more.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
what do you measure yourself against? Like, if you're a purple belt and you only roll with white belts and you just smash all the white belts, like, what are you measuring yourself against? Like, I don't know. You have to be finding hard things to break you in order to know where you are, right? It's all measuring.
Yeah, the testing.
Mm-hmm.
So wild, such a crazy concept. And like I said, I just as soon as you said it, and I was like, I'm not sure. I was like, I think that's what we need to talk about. You know, I'm just because this is the essence of what, you know, for anybody that's hanging with us and that's here on, you know, this is episode 14. For anybody who's been hanging with us, you know, this format and these conversations started from us getting together once a month for what we called Bourbon Club, right? And we would just sit around a fire and eat some smoked food of some sort and drink bourbon and just talk about these kind of things. And so I love so much that we can get to a place where we're like, yeah, I'm not sure we agree on this, but it's like, it's still so civil and, you know, like, I think this is how conversations should go about things that you're not sure about or things you don't necessarily agree with people on. You know, I'm still open to discovery. I'm still open to learning what I'm getting wrong about this. You know, as much as I am what I'm getting right about it. I think, and maybe it sums it up for me, is that now I'm on a hunt for the places where I still perceive as old weaknesses and baggage that I'm carrying forward. You know, I feel like those are holding me down from moving forward into the person that I'm supposed to be. That's a form of defeat too, you know, and not having the awareness or not having the wherewithal to want to get better, want to put those things down, want to face your fears, as scary as it might be. I think it's something that all of us owe it to ourselves to sit down and evaluate and spend some time really thinking about. You know, turn off your phone, go somewhere quiet, you know, listen to nature sounds
Go build your business. Go learn how to play an instrument. Go write that book.
Podcast, or, you know, start jujitsu or whatever you want to do, right? Just don't just go do it. And if you fail, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't be defeated.
Yeah, don't let it. No, that's the right. Don't let it defeat you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you suck at it the first time you do it doesn't mean you're going to suck at it the second time.
Yeah.
Go
I know.
Or maybe a little less.
I was going to wrap up with that, but then I was thinking, well, because then not being defeated by it makes you go, well, maybe I can try something a little more extreme the next time. And maybe that's the essence of this, right?
Yes.
Or it's also the conversation you have with new white belts, right? You're like, dude, first 6 months sucks. If you can get past the first 6 months, it gets better. Like, but it's that drowning for 4 days a week times 6 months. Like, can you make it through that? Like, and then it gets a little bit better and a little bit better. But it's those honest conversations, right? Exactly.
It provides the best analogies. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
It just has the best. Well, guys, awesome conversation as always. Thank you so much. And for everybody out there, thank you so much for hanging out with us and for listening. This has been episode 14 already. So crazy, so exciting. But we are still just getting started. So thank you for all your feedback. Thanks for following and sharing. Please continue to do that. Let us know what you want to talk about. We've got some really fun and exciting things that we're talking about doing format-wise coming up. So stick around and find out what those are. But until then, Jordan, Chris, thank you so much for today. And everybody else, this has been another episode of Sweeter After Difficulty. Thanks, guys.